topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone, on this great South Florida sunny day. This is Real Estate Dreams and Beyond with your host, Donna Campbell. No, I am Jeff Innis. Donna will be in shortly. I'd like to bring on our co-host. We have Jennifer Fanning, the amazing lender, and then we have Luci Corral with Elsie's Credit Solutions.
Hello, everybody. Happy
How's
Monday.
It going? Happy
Hello,
Monday.
happy Monday.
Welcome back, Jen.
Thank you. Yeah, last week was a tough Monday.
I could imagine.
One of my first days back in the U.S., so kind of crazy. You don't realize what 6-hour time difference does in your sleep schedule, especially when you were awake for 24 hours to get home.
that feeling of like I'm here, but this can't be reality.
Correct. And I did work a little bit while I was gone, but I really tried hard to enjoy my family and enjoy Germany, which was a great thing.
That's not what Facebook had to say.
What, that I worked hard or that I didn't?
No, you didn't work at all.
Yeah. Facebook showed that I had a good time, which I did.
No, you see the castles seem so amazing. Tell us about that. How was your experience overall and on the other side of the pond?
Yeah, so first start off with this. I lived in Germany when I was a little kid. My dad was in the U.S. Army, and so we lived there until I was almost 3 years old. But obviously, I remember none of that. And unfortunately, I don't speak German, which is kind of sad. But my daughter lives there. And so I feel like I got like a super unique perspective of what Germany is versus just going and being a tourist. Right. As a tourist, you just see all the tourist things. You don't get to hear like the German mindset of why something, and perhaps not the additional like history background of things. So that I felt super blessed that I got to see the German perspective on things. So the castles really are quite amazing. And some of them were just built by lunatics.
Just the least, right?
Yeah, like one castle we toured, it was odd. I was like, who builds like this fairy tale castle? And it's one of the ones that's been in the most movies. Like it's been in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, all these, it's been in over 40 different movies. And so you go and you tour it. The person who built it, I can't even tell you what his name was. But the person who built it literally only lived in it for 6 months. And he built it to be like a fairy tale imagination place.
Wow.
So everything inside of it is some sort of imaginary space, from like an opera. He had like this cave room. They had spires coming down out of the ceiling and all this special lighting and stuff, which is so weird. It really reminded me of like the fairy tales that we read our kids when they're young.
Wow. That is awesome to experience in person.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of cool to see that.
The only castle I experienced ever was in Kentucky. It was a makeup of the Castle of Versailles in France. Some guy built it, and I believe it's in Louisville. And that was it. There was an event there. We went. We didn't get to go inside. We were just on the ground. But it was immense.
Yeah, from the ground, super crazy huge. Like so huge. And then, we toured like 4 or 5 different places Only one of them was like what we traditionally think of as a castle. The rest were like these 5-6 story massive, like row, like so giant, you would expect it to be like blocks, city blocks. And then in front of it is like big bodies of water with swans and circular driveways. And we toured the carriage house. You know, the carriages are all dripping in gold and super, super ornate and just crazy, like, you know, the wealth, number one. And number two, that they displayed it like that.
So are these castles on the market? What's the real estate like in somewhere where there's legit big castles?
Right, right. So the really odd thing is that the majority of Germans do not own a home. So I asked my daughter about that, and because she said, Mom, she's like, very few people own a home. Now she lives about an hour outside of Berlin. So then I started doing some Google searching. I'm like, really? Like very few people? Only 17% of Germans own a home in Berlin.
Wow.
And the nation average is about 50%, which is the lowest home ownership in all of the European Union, out of all the European countries, even though Germany is the most wealthy of the European countries because of their industry that they have there.
Oh man.
Which is kind of wild. Like you think of, you know, that Spain, that Greece, you know, that Croatia, you know, all these other countries have significantly higher home ownership rates than what Germany does. And so when I was doing a little bit of digging around and trying to find out, well, why? So they really think that part of it is a remnant mentality left over from when Berlin was divided between East and West. You know, you had the Berlin Wall, and you know, you just had that communist mentality that nobody really owns anything, and it's for the better of people not to own, that the government owns everything. And so they're attributing such low home ownership to that mentality, at least in the older generation. And then they're saying that the younger generation just wants to be free to be able to pick up and move to different areas without needing to think about, you know, selling, buying again. And plus rent.
I can understand that.
Yeah. And rent is affordable there.
So what is like a 2-2, you know, run in Germany?
Yeah. Like $1,300 a month.
Wow. Oh.
We're moving to Germany, honey.
I almost didn't come home because I went grocery shopping. I went grocery shopping with my Google Translate, but mind you, okay, me and Google Translate, the Germans had to have been so annoyed because here I am taking pictures of all the labels. I didn't know what it was in German.
Yeah.
And
it's
so
like
I
Aldi's.
filmed what?
It's like when you go to Aldi's. And
yeah, Maverick, I went to Aldi's in Germany just because I had to go because I go here in the U.S.
Order for the cart?
Translate, trying to figure out and, you know, clogging the aisles, whatever. The poor German people are probably happy I went home. But but what I put in my cart was probably half full. In the U.S., that would have been close to $100. It cost me less than $50.
Wow.
And I even had a couple bottles of wine.
It is expensive to live here. Perspective wise, it is expensive to live in certain parts of the U.S. Mind you, here in South Florida, you know, a 2-bedroom, a 2-2 will run you right now. It's about $2,300,
$2,400, yeah,
depending on where you want to live. But no, that sounds amazing. It sounds like a place, and I can understand. We think of the Berlin Wall, you know, we think of the time of JFK. It's not too long ago. You know, it's really just a blip in time.
Yeah, the Berlin Wall came down when I was in high school. And I remember it like the newscast showing it coming down. So that's why when I went, I'm like, I have to go see the Berlin Wall, even though there's not a bunch of historical stuff to do in Berlin other than the Berlin Wall. They have this thing called the radio tower, which is like this super skinny. It reminds me almost like the Space Needle in Seattle, where it's super skinny with a big ball on top. And I guess that the Soviets kind of built those all over Germany as like their, hey, we have a presence here type thing. So there's a few things like that to see in Berlin. But really, it's a bustling city of young people. I would say most people in Berlin are under the age of 40, and everybody is in great shape.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what's the market like? So rent is good over there. So what's the market? If everybody's renting, is there a lot of homes for sale?
So I looked, and there did not seem to be as many homes for sale as what you would see. Like Berlin is a big city. And it reminds me of New York City on a smaller scale, much smaller scale, just because it's kind of a mosh of people. But really, there's not a ton for sale there. Most of what's there, German cities have been built up. American cities have been built out. Like when you fly into Berlin, it doesn't even look that big. You're like, wow, it's not even like that expanse. Versus then when I flew back into Miami, Miami, it's all out and everywhere. But then, my husband and I were talking, I'm like, why is that? Well, if you look at it, the Americans' idea of housing is that everybody has a yard. You know what I'm saying? You have some sort of yard, you've got a garage, that's the American way of housing. Well, the Germans have really built their cities upward. So people live in flats, apartments, and then they've designed lots of, that's a picture of the Berlin Wall. So they nowadays they have put murals all up and down the Berlin Wall. So that's awesome. That one was a mural of showing of how Tokyo, New York City, and Berlin are all like the same vibe of a city. And then obviously that's showing the breaking free, of the East Germans, which by the way, my family is from East Germany. So super special just to go see, my mom's family came from East Germany, which is kind of crazy. That's picture awesome. Of the wall itself. Now, mind you, when it was really intact, there was barbed wire on top, and there was actually two walls with guard towers in between. And there was one day when they shot like 16 people trying to come across the wall, and you were able to go between East and West Germany. There was a gate. Matter of fact, my husband in the early 80s, a few years older than me, went to Germany and went across to East Germany just to say, that he had been there. Because that was
that's awesome.
But yeah, back to the cities of Germany and their real estate, everything is built upward. And then they have designed the cities to have lots of common green space. There is a park everywhere. There's a park everywhere. They've designed sidewalks are extra wide because then people bike, people walk. So half the sidewalk is designated for bikers. The other half the sidewalk is designated for walkers. You take your MapQuest, you put in where you want to go, just like we do here in the US, but you hit transit and it literally tells you walk 50 feet to this bus stop, get on this bus. Here's your expected time, if you need to transfer, whatever. So they've really designed their cities to be easy to where you don't need a vehicle, which is kind of a beautiful thing because it cuts down on an expense.
That's awesome.
Where you don't need a vehicle. People seem very social because they're out. Like they're outside. In America, all of us are like in our own little cars, our own little spaces, our own little space in housing, so it's just kind of a different mentality. And then you go to Germany and they don't ask you what you do for a living. They don't care. That's not important to them. What's important to them is what your hobbies are and what you like to do outside of work. I'm like, so weird.
That sounds like a utopian society. That's why. But hey Donna, how's it going? You snuck in there.
Hello.
So the question that I have about Germany would be, do they have a credit system there?
Yes. So, matter of
Okay.
fact, all of Europe has their own credit system. Like right now, I'm doing a loan for a girl who came from London. And so every country has their own credit scoring system, very similar. Matter of fact, Equifax and those guys all operate in those countries. They just have their own version of the credit report. Yep, which is pretty interesting. And to buy in Germany as a US citizen is not terrible. You actually need a minimum of 40% down and you can purchase a home.
And obviously you can invest and rent it out because you'll find renters. So buying
100%. And that's kind of a beautiful thing is that, Germany is known as a nation of renters. Like that's kind of the tagline for them. And so if you're an investor, really Germany is a great place to invest because so many people, they don't mind renting and that's what they do. But I will say that there's a lot of laws and regulation around renting in Germany. So
I could imagine. Well, Jen, thank you for sharing that experience with us on your social media and also here. That was great. I'd like to segue into the credit conversation. It's really great to see that the rest of the world is on a great credit system. But one thing we've seen here lately are some credit scams. Being in the credit repair business, we get a lot of customers who have gone to different credit repair businesses to get help, and they get all this information. One of the big ones being is a credit sweep. So, Luci, can you tell me what a credit sweep is? Is it legal? Is it real? Those advertisements we've seen that we can delete everything off your report. We can sweep your credit, and you'll have a great credit score. Is that real?
Definitely not legal, but credit sweeps are out there, right? There is a lot of people that are advertising credit sweeps. And what they do is they use illegal tactics to eliminate the information that is on your credit profile. So they're filing false identity theft reports. They're filing false police reports. And they're able to, completely eliminate all the information off of one's credit report using illegal tactics. And that's what is called a credit sweep, right? Definitely tactics that are being used that are not legal, but they are out there. So that's definitely a red flag that you want to be aware of. If you see credit sweep anywhere, just know that there is a lot of credit repair companies that are getting in deep trouble over credit sweeps. They're going to jail over credit sweeps. So it's definitely not worth it for the consumer or for the credit repair company.
I have a question about that. So I had a client last year that I was suspicious that that's perhaps what happened because I had pulled credit. They never ended up going through with a loan. They could never end up with enough money, but I had pulled credit once and there was all this stuff. And the guy was like, don't worry, I have a guy. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And so he went and talked to whoever his guy was. And he, like a month or two later, said, hey, Jennifer, pull credit again. And so I did. And like all the bad stuff was magically gone. So my question to you is, does it stay gone or is this just like a temporary thing that these?
It's definitely a temporary fix.
Okay, that's
Absolutely.
That's what I thought. Because when I saw it, matter of fact, I pulled up the two credit reports side by side. I was like, no, something illegal happened. Because normally you would see like if a collection got paid, it would still be there, but it would show paid or resolved or something. It wouldn't just be gone.
So what a lot of these companies are doing, Jen, is they'll go out and claim. So they'll claim identity theft. I'm sorry. So they'll claim identity theft and get things wiped out. The reason they come back is in order for you to actually claim true identity theft, you have to file a police report. So
Gotcha.
with this, I'm sorry. No, so you have to file a police report. So when you have somebody that is fraudulently claiming identity theft, they have no police report. They can't go to authorities and get this documentation. So all these accounts end up coming back on their account. So and they can get in big trouble because now they're defrauding the banks. It's the same thing I talk about with trade line. So there's one thing to get a trade line for a business. Makes perfect sense in the business world. But what some of our clients who ask us about it is it called trade lines, which would be authorization on somebody else's credit card. So that's okay for a family member or uncle or aunt. But when you extend this out now and you sell these, so say I said, Donna, I'll sell you my trade. I have a credit card that's a $6,000 limit on it. It's great. I'll put you on there for $400. Well, that's fine. But anything, so the gray area with the trade line is when you go to get a loan, you actually got that loan based on false pretenses. So if you default on that in the future, or say the person who that trade line belongs to defaults, you can actually be held criminally liable for gaining this property, like if we're talking about real estate, under false pretense of having a good credit score when you don't, and the banks can sue you for the whole amount. And there's definitely jail time behind that.
I actually had a credit repair person approach me a year ago telling me that he could add trade lines to people that had thin credit. So that has to be what he was. I never used him because I just had like a slimy feeling about it.
Yeah. And that's also a temporary fix, right? Because what they do is that they're going to sell you this trade line, which is really just an authorized user on probably their account or their business account, or depending on what they're using. And they're going to put you on for about 3 months. They're going to charge you a great amount of money to do so. And after those 3 months come up, that information falls off of your report. They sell it to somebody else and they continue that process, right? But what happens is once that information comes off, no longer beneficial to you.
Wow. That's so crazy. So they're able just to pull that trade line off so I'm assuming they just call and say this person is no longer an authorized user, right? And it comes off.
Yep.
And it's something. So and Luci and I have this conversation, have had this conversation so many times, where it is a very gray area. It's not technically illegal to do this. It's the repercussions when something goes wrong. Right? Because it's a gray area. So if you do this and something does go wrong, the banks are gonna hold your hand. They're gonna say, "Oh, I didn't know that wasn't truly your credit score." Well, that's fraud. So
Absolutely.
it could get really.
Yeah, and we all know
going?
that the banks never, the banks always figure it out, right? Like there is they're not going to be scammed.
Is there something called the banks never lose?
Yes, I think there is. Well, I had a borrower one time that was complaining, the appraiser charges a fee, the survey person charges a fee, everybody charges a fee. And I said, well, the only way to not get charged fees is to pay cash, and you can't do that. So it sounds like you have to pay the fees. Like there's, it costs money.
It's America. It's America, the land of the free, not the home of free.
Yes, correct. Correct.
So Donna, you're quiet. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just great. Thank you, Jeff. I'm just listening to all this, taking it in.
Is it too much? Is it too much to handle?
No.
She's probably trying to decide if she's had fraudulent buyers.
I was actually thinking about scams that have happened in real estate. And my biggest one was, right after I closed on a unit in Del Rey. It was a horrible situation because the guy was was certainly emotional during his sale of his sister home who passed away, right?
Yeah.
And now he needed to sell the home and he needed to move. And he had about $189,000 of net profit from it. Okay. And he never called me, but a few days after he closed, he got a call from the IRS. And they told him that he owed them 20-something thousand dollars of tax on this transaction. And instead of reaching out to me, he just became fearful because he was in an emotional state to begin with, right?
Yeah.
And so he went to the bank and he wired the $20,000.
Ooh.
Okay. And then after that, he started thinking, maybe something's not right here. So he contacts the Delray police. He goes to the bank. The bank was able to get in touch with the other bank in Kentucky where the money was being wired, and they were able to stop that person from picking up the money. And then he was able to finally get the money back.
That is very
awesome.
fortunate, because normally that does not happen. Normally, once a wire is sent, like you sign your wire away, they say it's gone. Wow.
Yeah. So I guess what I would want to tell everybody is there's a couple of scams that go around when doing real estate transactions. One is that. The other is companies will reach out to you and ask you if you need a document of title on your home. And you're going to get that from your title company. You're not going to get it from a third party. You know, it's just part of the package that comes to you. But again, that's another scam that goes around during real estate.
And that gets mailed to every single buyer. Every buyer. Almost, I have so many people that reach out to me after the fact with pictures of like the postcards that get sent and the letters. Do I need this? And I'm like, no, your title company provided this. I said, look at the very, very bottom. It says not an affiliate of Waterstone Mortgage. You know, I'm like, but you got to read the small print.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the scams now are incredible. So we have a family member that is currently looking for a place to live. They went out yesterday, and I believe it was around 9 places on Facebook that they found to go look at. All of them end up being scams. Nobody met with them.
Really?
They were doing so, but this is how intricate these scams are. They have the numbers to the lockbox. So it's an actual company. So say it's Camden Homes that's renting out these places. There's somebody in Camden in that office who is scamming people. So they get the code to get inside. All the paperwork looks legit, but they can't get anybody to come out. And then when they actually call the management company, never heard of them. No, where did you see this? No, we do not advertise there. So so Facebook can be a resource, but it is definitely not the best. And if you're going to look on Facebook, do your homework, do your due diligence, get out there. And even with I even encourage our clients to look into our company. Don't take our word for it. I do that with Credit Academy 401 all the time. They ask me what is the best course, and I point them towards our Facebook group, and I say, don't ask me, ask our students. Let our students talk for us. And if you don't have a company that's willing to do that, then they're probably not the most forthcoming.
Well,
I agree.
Right?
Here's the deal. Facebook on rentals has been a scam for quite a long time, right? And if you go take that same listing and you run it through Apartment Finder or Zillow, you probably won't find it. Okay. Just be quick access. But I think it's just important to go to reliable sources. Not that Facebook isn't a great platform. It's just that its specialty isn't selling real estate, right?
Yeah.
Or a lot of other things that are going on. So
there's a house next to an old keyboard.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, I think it's just important to have qualified people around you, whether it's in credit or mortgage or real estate, that absolutely understand the business. This is what they do for their business, and not some third party who's selling themselves as something that they hope to be, right?
Oh,
Absolutely.
there you go. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true.
So
Qualified individuals.
So Donna, are you able to help renters, or do you just sell real estate? Like, how does that work for you? Like, can you help someone find a rental property, or are you only in the business to sell?
No, I'm definitely, renters are our future buyers. So I'm
Absolutely
here to serve renters. Yesterday, Lucia put a text out to 10 people about her family members looking for a place to rent. And she asked if anybody knew of any rentals. And I think it might have taken me 60 seconds to respond that we have 18 rentals under $1,800 for a two bath in West Palm Beach, right?
Wow.
So, and that's how quickly it is at any good agent's fingertips.
Yeah.
And that's why it's good to have these amazing people that you work with, that you network with, that you can connect with when something like this comes up, right? When we're crunched on time, or our friends or our family are crunched in time, we have a great circle of connection to whether it's real estate, whether it's finding a rental, whether it's someone needing, to move, they need help moving. We have connections for a moving company. I mean, we just have big connections, and we're excited to be a part of that. And it was awesome to be able to reach out to, this group of amazing people that I said, hey, why not reach out to people that I know that are not going to scam us? And it was almost instantly that Donna replied.
Yeah, and it just goes to show. I think before I got into credit, and now I'm so closely tied with lenders and real estate agents. I think the regular person doesn't realize that your real estate agent and your lender can do so much for you. They are your lifeline to your goal, and it's not just. I think when a normal person thinks of a real estate agent, renting doesn't come to mind. It's they feel that going with the real estate agent, they're going to pay more for their rental versus finding it on their own, and that's not necessarily the case.
Yes, it's so true. A lot of people think and let me tell you, there are some people that will charge money. Okay, however, in Palm Beach County, Broward County, the whole South Florida area, I mean, it's pretty common for the seller to pay the commission, and very uncommon for the buyer to be putting out money for that. So if you are a buyer, a future renter, you need to get with somebody that isn't going to be charging you money, because it's out there for free all day long.
You need to be going with Donna Campbell from Coldwell Bank.
That's right, because she's reliable, and she's not going to give you a code to a lockbox. It's not there.
That's and it's unfortunate. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but as it's my mind is like spinning 1,000 miles a minute now. But as a realtor, if you're helping somebody rent their home, the chances that same person is going to come back to you in the next year or two to buy their home.
Right. Other big scam is buying to own, rent to own on Facebook. Don't be doing that.
That's a no.
Wait, Donna, say that again.
You do not want to rent to own, like it's
on Facebook.
On Facebook, or let's dive into this. I've heard that rent to own.
I'm sorry.
That rent to own is kind of one of the trickiest type of mortgages and buying like avenues you can go down, because you don't really own the property until the whole thing's paid off. Is that true?
I've never known anyone that successfully completed a rent to own.
Me either. I know people who have started them. Yeah, I know people who have started them that I've pre-approved them for the future, but have never closed.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. And I want to circle back to if you want to buy in Germany, Jen can do that mortgage for you.
Correct.
There you
Correct.
go.
Yeah, I can do
There you
that.
go.
I actually can help people buy pretty much globally, depending on the countries. And here's the caveat though, it has to be a second home. It cannot be a primary home. So if you're wanting to buy a primary home, you know, and you're a US citizen, then you will have to go through whatever channels in those countries to buy a primary residence. To buy a second home in those countries, super easy.
Okay.
Basically the same process that we have here, other than the fact that we find title companies and stuff in those countries in order to close the deals. So, matter of fact, I have a real estate friend who sells in Belize, who keeps on wanting me to buy in Belize, but I'm like, do you know what the murder rate is of women in Belize? I'm like, it's almost 50%.
Oh my Lord.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do we have?
If you Google Belize, it's like flies to a light. It's so beautiful. You're just like, oh, I gotta be there.
I've been there. It's very, very beautiful, but
to die there is not
no.
Welcome to the morbid part of our program.
Do we have those people for what's going on in the housing market?
What's going on in the housing market, Donna?
What are you seeing? What is your opinions on the market right now? Is it another frenzy coming on? What's going on?
I've never been known to be able to predict the future. However, I will say that with April's latest numbers that just hit, with the exception of Waxahachie, you know, we're down in sales over last year. Prices are either the same or up a little over last year. The days on the market are significantly increased with a 70% gain across the board in listings on the market. And I just feel like, yes, we are going to have a change in the market. Right now, you can already see that prices are not closing at the price that it was offered at. It's
Correct.
about 7 to 10% is what prices are closing at. So for people who have been on the market for a very, very long time, it'll be time for the seller to decide if they want to continue on with the number that they've chosen to list at, which is probably unreasonable if you haven't sold it after a year, right?
Correct.
So this first, I can't see the top of it. I apologize.
Broward County.
It's Broward, yeah.
County. Okay, so Broward County average price is $575. Are you sure this isn't Palm Beach County?
No, it's not.
Nope, it's
No,
Broward.
this is Broward. It's Broward.
Okay, Broward County's at $575. You can see that the active inventory there is up significantly. They have 2,700 listings on the market. When you're looking at closed sales, you see the arrow is going down. This is this year over last year. It's got their total volume dollar. It's also down. New listings down. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
New listings down
26%.
New pending sales are down.
Yeah.
So let's go to the next side. Let's get closer to home with Palm Beach County.
Yeah.
Martin County.
Martin County is at 570. Now this is shifted just a little. This is the end of April results. Martin County was $5,000 higher a month ago, and Broward changed from a month ago and went up just a little bit. So
it's so interesting.
Closed sales though in Martin County, it's
up.
It's better in Martin County. Okay, and why do you think that is? Because everyone is moving north, right? I mean, we are seeing a great migration coming out of the southern counties, and people are moving either to where there's more land or because, just think about Jupiter. If you go to Jupiter Farms, it's full of 5-acre plots. Do you think that stuff is selling? Yes, it is. Same in Loxahatchee. Everything is an acre and a quarter except for the new developments in Westgate, right? So again, people are still valuing land. But active inventory is up. Pending sales are up. They are different than what you're going to see in Palm Beach and Broward County. Dollar volume 221 million up. So pretty good results for Martin County in my book. Let's see the next one.
St. Lucie County.
Okay, where you can still buy a home that is reasonable for a first-time buyer, right?
Yeah, look at that price.
Look at the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
380,000. And you can go to Port St. Lucie and you can buy a 3-2 for under 325,000.
So that's a $200,000 savings.
I will say that I have my daughter moved there in February. She has had 7 high school friends from Loxahatchee because that's where I raised my kids. And they have all migrated up to Port St. Lucie. Why? Because it's affordable for a first-time buyer, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
and they have lots of new little houses that are not only affordable but have really low insurance, which is another factor in your payment.
Absolutely. Yes.
And you get an actual home out there. I see a lot of homes, like actual homes, not apartments or condos.
Right. A home.
Yep.
Yeah.
A home. And their inventory is up 91% from a year ago.
Awesome.
Yes. And they have a lot of new build going into Port St. Lucie itself. And a new build there can cost you as little as $350,000. And what that does is it knocks down your insurance to $2,000 or less annually. And it's a sweet deal.
Wow.
It's a really sweet deal. So, yes, active inventory, for a long time at the Board of Realtors, we talk about all the time getting it back to where it's even between a seller and buyer's market, right? And the ratio for that is 5. And we were at like a 1.2, and then we climbed up to 3. So we're definitely getting closer and closer to the ideal market where it's neither in favor of the buyer nor the seller, and it's an even playing field.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next slide.
Loxahatchee.
Okie dokie.
Wow. Look how high the median sales price is.
So I spent 16 years living in Loxahatchee, right? I bought my 2.5 acres with a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,800 square foot pool home for $410,000 in 2004, right?
Wow.
That same home is now worth over $800,000, right? And you can see the 657 also is going to encompass the new build of Westgate out there a little bit.
Okay.
But everything in Loxahatchee is an acre and a quarter or more, and land values out at about $225,000 and up an acre. So if you look at closed sales are up, dollar volumes up, new listings are up, which is good because we need more for people to buy. No, it's down. New listings are down, and you don't see that anywhere else, which is kind of cool. Median sale price up, active inventory up, and new pending sales are down slightly, right? So I just think it's pretty unique that when you compare Lox to, and we call it Lox out there, Lox to Palm Beach County, it is making some moves in housing.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
It's kind of amazing because you think of South Florida, and most people want to be near the ocean and stuff. And Loxahatchee is obviously opposite direction, but it must be that the draw to bigger lots and more land is more important to people than being near the ocean, because I guess they figure they can drive.
No HOA unless you're living in Westgate. Okay, if you're living in Westgate.
And that's a big deal.
I mean, Westlake, not Westgate. I've got a listing on Westgate. I'm sorry. If you're out living in Westlake, then yes, you're going to pay an HOA. But for the most part in Loxahatchee, you've got an acre and a quarter of land. You can do a bonfire pretty much anytime you want. You can ride your four-wheeler around. It is a great place to raise a family. Great place to raise a family, you know. And if you like horses, then a lot of people have those out there too, but not necessarily everyone. You know, you see some unique things, like my neighbors down the street built a batting practice cage, whatever, for their kid, you know. And a lot of people will do business out there, you know, put an extra utility building and open their business up. And I mean, there's a lot of opportunity to living out there, and they have great school systems as well. So what I would like to say to our viewers and our listeners, if you are in Loxahatchee and you're ready to list your home, I want you to call me. Why? Because I know where your well is, and I know how to get past the water inspection test, what you need to do to fix it, without somebody calling you and telling you that you need the $10,000 system. It doesn't necessarily have to happen that way. And I think that when you bring an agent who hasn't lived there or sold there quite often and doesn't understand that city water isn't everywhere out there, that it can actually kill a sale for you. So, Loxahatchee, if you're ready to sell, please give me a call at 561-685-6663. Also, I'd like you to remember that if you are needing repairs on your home, a new electrical panel, new flooring, an updated kitchen, or any of those things, we can fix those beforehand for you. So we're bringing you premium dollar for your home, and you can pay it back at closing. How about that?
Love it. So you mean if you would have been the person that had the listing that I'm currently trying to get closed in Loxahatchee and they didn't have heat in the house, you would have already known that, right?
Well, yeah.
Because the poor realtor that has the listing, when I called and said, the appraiser called that there's no heat in the house. He's like, what?
Wow.
He's like, but we live in Florida. I said, I know, but you still have to have heat in the house according to Fannie and Freddie rules.
Wow.
Yes. Can you imagine getting into a home and there's no heat?
You're so right. But I think we are just almost out of time here. So let's go around for some final words from everyone, if you guys don't mind.
Well, it has been an incredible week so far, and it's just started. I want to wish everybody a great rest of their week. Make it till Wednesday. We're actually going to Texas this weekend. We'll be in South Texas, so that's going to be fun. We'll be there till Tuesday, so we'll come to you live from an Airbnb. So it's going to be fun. It's graduation time. Every summer starts for the kids this Friday, so that's going to be great. So they'll be at grandma's.
So my quote for the day is buy land. They're not making anymore.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's my line.
I know it is. Mark Twain, I stole it from you. I'm like, hey, I like that.
Yeah. I do. Go ahead, Lucia.
I just want to say, with all the scams that are out there, guys, remember that the best way to improve your credit score is to pay your bills on time, keep your credit card utilization low, and keep your accounts in good standing.
Yes.
Thank you. And I would just like to tell everyone that I just sent a girl that I know over to Lucia because I was talking to her about the new money that's coming around on July 1st. Under the Hometown Heroes program, also the Live Live Local Florida Act. And, I was just talking to her about it the other day, and I said, hey, let me send you over to Lucia because she can help you get your credit where it needs to be. We're looking for a 640 credit score to qualify for the 5% down payment assistance. You need to be working 35 hours a week, full time. We can get into detail about that a little bit later. If you're interested in getting down payment assistance, 5% down, which that's not what you even need to close. Okay.
Correct.
If you're interested in that, you can reach out to Jen Fanning at Waterstone Mortgage or myself, Donna Campbell, and I'll get you hooked up with Jen Fanning. And we'll get you rolling so that when the market drops, because it's going to, I can feel it's not going to be drastic, you guys, but any improvement is better improvement on pricing, right? Mm-hmm. So as that comes around, we want to be able to help you make home ownership a reality for you and your loved ones. So we really appreciate the time that you've been here with us today. I appreciate you all for taking care of the show when I wasn't able to be on first thing. And I'm wishing everyone out there a hugely successful week. And we will talk to you next week at 3:00 on Real Estate Dreams and Beyond.
Thank you, Donna.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.